Chairman Mast, thank you very much for this interview. First of all, congratulations on your new appointment as Chairman of House Foreign Affairs Committee. You're one of the few people who understand that the head of the snake is Iran, not Hamas, not Hezbollah. What will be your foreign policy against the Iranian regime?
It's what President Trump puts forward, and that's to say maximum pressure. Maximum pressure involves a lot of things, so it's making sure that Israel has the support, and not just the support in terms of what we are sending to be used, but the way that we are there, whether in the Suez Canal or the Red Sea, or take your pick of places, being on the front line shoulder to shoulder.
What do you think will be the difference in the incoming administration relationship with Israel compared to the previous administration?
I think the difference could be summed up very shortly. Yes will be yes and no will be no. For President Trump, he's not going to play games where it's a half measure because half support is going to Gaza and half support is going to our ally. It doesn't make any sense to support our ally who is at war with our adversary and to support our adversary as well. And in the end, it also creates a situation where you don't beat your adversary to the point that they are ready for a long-lasting peace.
I'd like to ask you a personal question. As someone who almost sacrificed his life for America, where do you get your motivation and strength every morning to stand up and fight for the security of the U.S. and Israel?
My father raised me to believe that way and to live that way and to instill the same thing in my boys and my daughter. We fight for the right causes. Nothing's going to make us back down, and that makes us all American.
But why for Israel?
Well, it's part of the most important causes. I say it in this way many times, that Israel is the most important aircraft carrier for the United States of America anywhere around the globe. Israel is constantly acting as the greatest ally for us in the region. Our common bonds that go beyond not just common enemies, but the way that we look at the world. And so those common grounds and the way that we work together to secure what are common interests for us, it's just the best relationship.
Trump said all of them until January 20, or the fire of hell will open. What do you think he means?
I think he means what he says. All of them. Everybody. Every person that's alive. Every single thing that was touched on October 7, it will be returned. You have until then to get this done. And if you don't, you will realize what it means when President Trump's yes is yes and his no is no.
You moved many Jews worldwide when you appeared after October 7th in IDF uniforms in Congress and received quite a bit of criticism for doing it. Do you think the criticism of the IDF from the Democratic Party and international body like ICC, ICJ are justified?
Absolutely not. Israel is number one conducting a war of defense. Israel was attacked on October 7th, and many people forget this. The enemy has to be defeated to the point that they surrender, to the point that they recognize they will never rise again in the way that they have.
You visited before and after October 7th. Is there a special moment that you never forget?
The first time I visited Israel after October 7 was by invitation to go and visit with amputees like myself that had been injured in the war in Gaza. And so for me, it was going hospital to hospital, visiting with these individuals and having the opportunity to stand on the bedside where somebody had stood on the bedside for me before, saying, listen, life's going to go on. You're going to be all right. You're going to get out there and you're going to do everything that you decide to do in life. When you do, you're going to go out there and you're going to affect your country in a way that you didn't have the ability to do it before, so don't let them down. And that was the message to soldier after soldier.
We saw that the Biden administration wanted to prevent Israel from entering Rafah and Lebanon. Prime Minister Netanyahu decided to enter anyway, which led to the elimination of Sinwar and Nasrallah, which you supported. What do you think Israel should do now and in the long run to protect itself?
Don't settle for a premature peace. Because if Israel would have settled when they said, hey, you can't go into Rafah, guess what? All these things wouldn't have happened. If they said, listen, you have to have this war concluded by Ramadan. If you don't have it concluded by Ramadan, then all hell's going to break loose and it's not going to be okay. Israel didn't pay attention to that. And we have Sinwar and we have everything that's happened since.
I know that you have special relations with some Israeli veterans. You send videos to soldiers in Gaza. As an American veteran, what do you think about the Israeli veterans?
I think they're amazing individuals. For all of us that put on a uniform in defense of our country, you're cut from a different cloth. And that's unique, and it's special, and very few are capable of it, and very, even less, undertake those actions. And so when you find those brothers and sisters in arms, you find real friends that you can count on.
What message would you like to convey to the Israeli people?
Stay in the fight. Okay. Be vigilant in the fight. And always remember that as you're in this fight, you're not in it alone.
Chairman Mast, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for standing with Israel, and I wish you millions of luck in your new job. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the questions.
Speaker, I rise today in support of the Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act, a bill that I am proud to have worked on with my colleague and my friend, Representative Chip Roy, a bill that sanctions international criminal court officials and their families and anybody who is assisting them. Why? Because they are targeting America's allies who are right now the front line of fighting to bring American hostages home from Gaza. America is passing this law because on November 21, 2024, the International Criminal Court's pretrial chamber issued warrants for the arrest of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's former defense minister Yoav Gallant. Let me explain that in a more detailed way. America is passing this law because a kangaroo court is seeking to arrest the prime minister of our great ally, Israel, who is not only responding to an enemy which conducted a genocide, killing as many men, women, and children as possible, even beheading some of them on October 7, 2024, but an enemy who still holds 100 hostages, scores of bodies of those that they murdered, including 7 of my fellow Americans. Let me say that again. Israel is the tip of the spear in bringing the fight to an enemy who currently holds and has killed our fellow Americans. Israel has conducted this war with as much restraint as war can allow. In the face of horror, they have showed humanity. We know that for Israel, any civilian dying is a tragedy. And we know that for Hamas and the Palestinians who support them, civilians dying is quite literally their strategy for victory. Hamas' strategy uses hospitals and schools as bases for combat operations. Not some fighter accidentally walked into a hospital for 5 minutes carrying their machine gun. No, they build hospitals and schools into fortified launching points for attack. In clear violation of the laws of armed conflict, Hamas deliberately targets civilians. What the ICC is doing with their arrest warrants is legitimizing the false accusations of Israeli war crimes in order to do something. In order to stop the overwhelming success of Israeli military operations. Now, Mr. Speaker, I don't care if a person is a terrorist in a cave or if they are a lawyer in The Hague. If they are getting in the way of bringing home our Americans or bringing home our allies who are, as we speak, in this very moment, bound, blindfolded, tortured, raped, enslaved, starved, facing execution. If you are getting in the way of bringing them home, then we will give you no quarter, and we will certainly not allow you to be welcome to American soil. Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my